What's up, Do Life in a Body You Love chicks? I cannot tell you how many women hit their weight loss goals and they still don't have any more confidence than they did when they started, or they have a little bit more, but it's not what they were expecting. I actually see this all the time. And since confidence is the number one reason why women want to lose weight in the first place, I think this is such an important topic. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is how can you not only have the confidence when you hit your goal, but how can you increase your body confidence now while you're still on your weight loss journey? Yes, it's entirely possible. It makes the adventure feel so much more enjoyable. And so before we dive into these tips that I'm going to give you, which I've got 3 for you today, I owe you a big apology. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but last week I did not put an episode out. And do you know what? If I'm being perfectly honest, it completely slipped my mind because I have been working super, super hard, like around the clock, night and day for this brand new event that I'm bringing you guys next week. And I was working on it so hard, I totally forgot to record an episode. So my bad, y'all. I'm super, super sorry, but you for sure need to register for next week's event because it's going to be amazing. So if you're listening to this when this episode launches, the event next Tuesday, that will be the 15th, and it will be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is 3 secrets to losing weight in your 40s and beyond. So what we're going to dive into is how do you get your metabolism to work with you in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, no matter which phase of menopause that you happen to be in, whether you're approaching it, in it, or just getting through it. Doesn't matter. You can totally use these principles. And how do you work it into like your crazy busy schedule? So that's what we're going to be chatting about during that event. Go to go.nikkioday.com/3 secrets and you can get registered for that. So that's kind of why I forgot to record y'all a podcast episode, but let's jump in with today's topic because there's 2 different types of confidence. When I talk about confidence, there's a couple of different angles. So number 1 is just feeling good in your clothes or out of your clothes or however you want to feel confident, right? And that does usually require a certain amount of weight loss. But then there's also the confidence in your abilities, your trust in yourself to take care of yourself and keep the result. And so when we're losing weight with traditional diet type methods, it's really freaking hard to have the confidence in either one of those areas, because here's what happens. So I hear this from my clients all the time, is that typically when they've tried to lose weight in the past, with like through dieting and things like that, even when it's working, they have this anxiety about it because they've dieted before, lost weight, hit their goals, and then what happens? You rebound weight gain, right? So even when they're having success, they kind of have this voice in the back of their head that's like, great, I'm losing weight, but how long is this going to last? Can I keep this going? Can I hit the goal? And then even when they hit the goal, they're super anxious about every little thing that they're eating. And they're like, well, how long is this going to last for? How long before I put the weight back on? Because that's been their previous experiences, is that they've always rebound weight gained. And so they don't have this confidence in their ability to keep the weight off, right? So they might feel good in their clothes. Maybe that's a big maybe, because there's always more we can do, right? With health and fitness, you can, like, there's crazy extremes that you could take your body to if you chose to, right? Right or wrong. I'm not here to argue what's the best level of fitness. But for most of us, there's like this whole spectrum that we could go on. So maybe you hit your goal, and then if it's strictly a diet mentality and it's only about the aesthetics, well, then you want to hit the next goal and then the next goal. And there's never this piece. And so if you're trying to lose weight, I don't want you to be miserable on the journey. And I certainly don't want you to not feel good when you hit your goals. Like, it should truly be this celebration, and you should have this trust in yourself that you can maintain it now. So many of my clients have told me, even after just 12 weeks, some people work with me longer, some people work with me for just the 12 weeks, but they always say, like, I've never had this much peace with my food, or I've never been this confident that I can keep doing this because I like what I'm doing and I'm seeing results and my body feels really good and my mindset has shifted about why I'm doing it. Now, here's the deal. I'm not saying that there should not be aesthetic goals. I have aesthetic goals. Part of my want for losing weight is how I look. There's no shame in saying that. It is fine for you to want to look and feel your best, okay? But if the number on the scale is the solitary focus and we're going about it through really restrictive measures, then the whole process just sucks, right? We're just like, I can't wait for this to be over with. And if that's the mindset, then as soon as it's over with, we just put the weight back on. So typically we do start on our weight loss and our health journey out of pain and suffering, right? Like I started mine because I was miserable with how my body looked, felt. I was achy. I had all this weird autoimmune stuff going on. Like my misery for sure led me onto the path, right? But then if the whole process stays that like avoidance of pain and misery, and you just end up doing things that make you more miserable and it's crap. So we quickly got to shift gears. And that's what I want to give you some tips for today is how do we make that shift? How do we, when we still have a health goal to achieve, maybe we don't like the way that our body is and some weight does need to come off for us to be comfortable, right? If you're uncomfortable, like your coat doesn't fit you in the winter. And when you put your seatbelt on, it like digs into you in weird spots and like you're just literally uncomfortable with the size of your body. Okay, cool. Let's get some of that weight off and increase that comfort. But let's shift into this place of respect for our body and what our body's capable of and why we're doing this. Who do we want to become in this process? Do we want to be this person that is obsessed with calories? I'm not knocking calorie counting, by the way. I have a lot of clients who calorie count. When I'm trying to get lean, I macro track. But there's a time and a place for it, right? And it can't just be this like all-encompassing thing, or we're terrified of carbohydrates, or we can't go with our friends to Olive Garden because hello, endless bread basket. Who can say no to that? Like we have to come to this place of like, we have some discipline enough to hit our goals, right? But we also still enjoy our life because the juice has got to be worth the squeeze, ladies. I want to look good. I want to look good in my clothes. I want to look good in the bathing suit. I want to look good in all the things. But if I have to be a food zealot or hate most of my day to get there, then it's not worth it. I'll just stay where I'm at. Like, I don't want to do all that, right? And so the first tip that I have for you is simply this: come up with a method you like. Like if you do not like what you're doing to lose weight, it's not going to stay off. And you're never going to get to this place of comfort within your process. And so this doesn't mean that if you like your plan, it always goes smooth. There's still going to be hiccups. You're changing as a person when you lose weight. It's if you're doing it right, where the weight's going to stay off, you're shifting the way that you think about food and the world and your place in it and how you show up for yourself and your learning habits. And like, there's so much growth in all of that. And guess what? Growth sucks. Like it's hard. Growth is painful. If it weren't, everybody would do it. This is why most people don't do any personal growth, because it's easier to not, it's not actually easier because then your life sucks, but it takes less effort. There's less discomfort initially in not growing, right? When we're not growing and we're just impulsive and we're just doing the things that we want to do, blah, 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 we are getting immediate gratification. Well, we got to shift to delayed gratification on some things. But in general, your plan shouldn't suck. You shouldn't be eating food that you don't like. There's plenty of food that you can eat and lose weight that you like. There's nothing magical about you eating an avocado. So if you don't like them, don't eat them. Like, but we follow these weird random food rules, and we have this idea that we have to do specific workouts because that's what's going to produce fat loss. And the truth is, like, you could literally probably start walking and you'd lose weight. Like, I don't know, but you got to come up with methods that are going to work for your body, but also work for your life and let you start to enjoy it. And then the second one is to bring gratitude into the mix. And this is a big mindset shift. So I don't mean gratitude like you get up and you thank God that you have a roof over your head, although you should totally do that, right? But I mean gratitude for yourself, gratitude for your body. If you really want to up level this, you can have gratitude for where you're at right now. I don't even care how miserable you feel. If you can have gratitude for where you are and you can recognize that this is a stepping stone to getting you to the person that you're going to be. And like, you're so blessed to be able to take care of your body in whatever way you can, because health is a spectrum, right? So even if your body isn't where you want it to be, it's probably a lot healthier than somebody else's. Or you may have more resources to take care of your health than what other people in the world have. Like somewhere in there, you can be grateful for what you have. And sometimes it takes some digging. I'm not saying that that's an easy thing to accomplish, but shifting that and being like, and it's kind of like, instead of saying, I have to do this for my body, it's, I get to do this for my body. And I know that that's like so cliche, but it's such a key shift to make, because when you start doing that, when you start giving your body the things that it wants, which if you don't know what that is, then you need to message me, because we need to get you in the program and get you learning all of this stuff. When you're fueled, you feel amazing. Okay. So you're doing that, you're going to feel better. And that makes the gratitude a little bit easier too, right? And that's when you can start to sit with where you're at and go, yes, I have so much more to go in my journey. Like, let's say you lose 20 pounds, but you have 80 that you want to lose. Well, that's still a lot to go, right? But if you've done it in a way that you liked what you did, and you can now look and go, wow, I've made so many shifts in myself, in my views, in keeping promises to myself. Like, I've done so much just to get this 20 off, that like the rest of this is going to be a piece of cake. And what a blessing that I had to learn these things, because they apply to other areas of life. That's a super common thing that I hear from people that I'm working with, is like, yeah, I did this to lose weight, but that's not the best thing that happened. Like, the best thing that happened on my weight loss journey was that I learned how to time manage in the rest of my life, because I took the principles that we used here and I applied them to other areas of my life. Or your mood improves. There's lots of reasons that your mood improves when you go on a health journey. One is because your brain has the fuel that it needs. So you're not as crabby, and your blood sugar isn't all over the place, which makes you crabby. So you naturally have more patience for the little humans in your world, or your spouse, or your boss, or whatever. But then there's also like, when we feel better about who we are and we're keeping promises to ourselves, it naturally elevates your mood. So maybe you start on your adventure because you want to lose weight and you want to look good in your jeans and you don't want to have a muffin top. But what ends up happening is, in that process, you learn gratitude, and your mood improves and your focus improves and you perform better. And like, all of these other things start to happen. And so pay attention to those things that are happening and focus on them. Now, you still might be sore to chasing a number on a scale, but what starts to happen is it becomes the less important thing. And then you feel motivated to keep going. So everybody thinks motivation happens first. No, it doesn't. And motivation's fickle anyways. But when you start getting results and you're liking what you're doing and you're liking who you are and who you're becoming, and you have gratitude for this amazing body that you get to do life in, that is such a blessing to have, right? And some of us have really beat up our bodies. Hi, me. It's like I was trying to kill myself when in my youth, the things that I was doing to my body, insane. And the fact that I am still reasonably a healthy person, like, that's a blessing. I'm grateful for that, right? Our bodies can take a beating and they keep showing up for us. And how amazing is that? So we're mad at our body because we're like, why aren't you just skinny already? I've been eating carrots for 3 days. But the reality is, like, some of us have not been super kind to our bodies over the years. And the fact that they're still here working is its own miracle. And so now let's give back to our bodies. They've carried us around. They've gotten us where we need to go. Some of them have grown humans for us. And then we're mad that we're chubby after we grow the humans. And like, wow, our bodies are like, ooh, I just got shaky there. Sorry. Our bodies are like these amazing miracles, but we don't think of it that way all the time unless we take the time to think of it that way. And then the third step is to really get clear on what it is that you want and then make peace with that. So to reach a certain level of leanness is going to take a certain amount of work. Now, if you have 30, 40, 50 pounds to lose, you are not going to have to be like counting calories and tracking every little thing and in the gym for hours at a time. Like, you're not going to have to do all that, right? Like, there's really basic steps that you can take if you're doing it in a smart order that can get you there without any of that nonsense. However, you do reach a certain level of leanness where you are going to have to get a little bit crazy if you want to get leaner. And so you have to decide, what do you want your body to look like? If there's an aesthetic goal, so you can want all the healthy stuff and you can still want to be a certain size in your jeans or whatever, you can do both, right? I think that's fine. But how much work do you really want to put into getting a certain level of lean? And if the answer is that this isn't the season of my life for me to try to have a six pack, then make peace with that. I am the heaviest right now that I have been in years, and I could care less. And here's why. So it's not because I don't care about being leaner. I am currently heavier than where I am really comfortable and where my baseline has been for a very long time. But here's what happened. So I pretty much did this Spartan race of nursing, we can call it. You guys have probably heard me talk about this, where I was working 72 hours a week on night shift in a level 1 trauma center where I got 1 day's worth of orientation. It was the last nursing contract I ever did. And I was like, well, this is gonna be the last thing I ever do. Let's go out with a bang. Let's do something crazy. And fully knowing that, like, if I'm living in a hotel and I literally wake up and they put me on a bus and they send me back to the hospital and I can't cook and I have no kitchen and I have to eat out of whatever the local restaurants are, and I'm not working out and I'm not doing these things, I knew I was putting weight on. No big deal. I know how to lose weight. That's not a problem. So I'm like, fine, I'm going. It's just for a month anyways. I'll put on a few pounds, whatever. Well, what happened was I put on 10 pounds, which doesn't sound like a lot. Some of you are rolling your eyes at me, but listen here, I'm 5 foot tall. 10 pounds is a lot for me. Okay. But that's not the crazy thing that happened. The crazy thing that happened was a couple weeks after I got home, my face started going numb. And my doctor was like, oh, I think you have MS. And I was like, probably not. It's this weird autoimmune stuff that me and my sister tend to be prone to. And I had all these other weird things happening. I had all this huge histamine response, and it was causing me a ton of anxiety. I am not an anxious person. And my blood sugars were super high, especially after I would eat. I had like diabetic levels of blood sugars at times. It was crazy. My body was max stressed. And if I were still in the place where I was 8 years ago, where I was constantly just chasing the number on the scale, my very first thing that I would have wanted to do was something wild, like go into ketosis and start doing some intermittent fasting and get back in the CrossFit gym. But what I know is that my body was under a serious cortisol surge. That is why when I would get up in the morning and drink a black coffee, my blood sugar would go from like 112, which it never is that high fasted, and it would jump to 156 from black coffee, you guys. That's a cortisol response. My body was so angry at me for the stress that I put it under. And it was only 4 weeks. But I have these propensities, and it was like I did every single thing that I could possibly do to my body, right? No exercise, extreme stress, being away from my family, living in this dungy little hotel, crap food, crappy sleep because I'm working night shift, disaster, right? So I had 2 choices. I can chase that number on the scale, or I can heal my body. So I opted with heal my body. And the things that I was doing while working with my own health coach was actually putting more weight on my body, but it was calming down my nervous system. And so I can get the weight back off. That's no problem. I'm working on that right now because now my body is ready. It took my body a year of recovering before it was really ready for me to go back into any sort of a calorie deficit. You got to earn your calorie deficit. And so, in my opinion, you need to learn it. You need to earn it by getting your mind ready so that you don't fall into like weird disordered eating type of things. And then also your metabolism's got to be ready for it. Your nervous system has got to be ready for it. All of these things have to happen. Now, all of that to say, if you want to put yourself into a calorie deficit, you probably can. You're probably fine. My body was in this weird extreme. But I share this with you to say, when you get to the point of peace with your body, that you can still be confident when you're a little fluffier than you like to be, because now you're on this path where you still don't rebound weight gain everything that you lost, right? That's the key, is that you lose enough in a slow enough way, with methods that you like, where you're healing your body, where even if something wild happens in your life, maybe you put a little bit of it back on, but you never rebound weight gain back up to where you used to be. That just like doesn't happen, because you just take better care of yourself than that. And you're at peace with it because you recognize there's different seasons in life. And so how aggressive you want to be with your weight loss measures is completely dependent on you, but you've reached this level where health is always the priority, right? Health is always the priority. And when you're living in a healthy body, the weight loss comes naturally. And so there are times where I am like aggressive with getting lean and I'm doing a ton of lifting and this and that and the other. But now that's not from a place of like having to prove anything to anybody. It's just me wanting to see what my body's capable of and what I can do. So what do you want for your body? It's your body. You get to decide. You don't need to reach a certain level of leanness to prove anything to anybody. You don't need to reach a certain level of leanness to look amazing. You already look amazing. And if you want to lose a little bit of weight so that you feel better about yourself, then you do that. And if you don't want to, then don't do it. As long as you're doing things that make your body feel good and you're showing up as the person you want to be showing up as for yourself. That's really what matters. So sit and decide, what do you want? What is the healthiest version of you, the happiest version of you, the most confident version of you? How does she show up for herself? And yeah, what do you look like? Do you need to lose a little bit of weight to feel good to get there? Cool, do it. If not, be cool where you're at. But you get to decide, because healthy has a very broad meaning, and we get to decide what's the level of health that we want. Like I said before, I'm not interested in being ultra healthy if it means I can literally never eat a piece of bread or drink a glass of wine. I'm not interested in that life. Somebody else could argue with me and say, well, why would you put bread in your body? Or why would you put a glass of wine in your body? That's poison. And if they're happy living that way, then that's cool for them. That's not where I'm at. This is the beautiful thing about this, is that it's your body. You get to decide what healthy looks like and then pursue it. Pursue it aggressively. Give it your all. Be all in for getting to the level that you want, not some external pictures that you see or what somebody has told you growing up you need to be, or any of that. Like, we got to let all of that go and decide for ourselves where we want to be, and then take aggressive action to show up for yourself, because it feels really good. And that's where confidence comes from. It's showing up in the way that you want to show up. And what'll happen is, yeah, you'll start losing some weight, but the confidence kicks in well before you hit the number on the scale, because it's confidence in you and how you're showing up. Does this make sense? It's a different kind of confidence. It's deeper. It's very meaningful. And when you're showing up for you, you're going to approach everything else in life really, really differently. So there's that version where you increase your confidence while you're still on your journey. And then there's the other version of losing weight where even when you hit your goal, you don't feel confident that you can maintain it You don't feel good in the approach that you took. Nothing really felt good about it. And you put the weight back on. Does that make sense, you guys? They're like two opposing things. And so pick your path. And I would encourage you to pick the path that's going to make you feel the best. Like, how are you going to feel the best? Because that's what this is really all about. That's how you do life in a body that you love. You have to love your body, right? And you're not going to love your body just because it hits a certain number on the scale. I promise that won't happen. We think that, but that won't happen. It's like when people think that when they make a certain dollar amount, they're automatically going to be happy. And then we see these people who are wildly successful and they're not happy at all. What's going on there? Well, that's not really the thing that was going to make them happy. So can money give you some things that make you feel a little bit happier? Yeah. But really, if you're above the poverty line, it doesn't have a huge impact on your life. So might hitting the number on the scale and what that means in a smaller size and all of that, might that give you some extra confidence? Yes, of course. But it's really not the whole enchilada. You get where I'm going with this? Like, enjoy the journey, trust yourself, get whatever resources you need, figure this thing out, but start to really embrace the fact that the journey itself is actually really, really cool. And well before you arrive at your goal, you're already awesome for showing up for yourself. Like, embrace it. Celebrate every little victory that you have along the way, and the victory being the behavior, not the result. You doing the things is going to give you a result. That is certain. So celebrate when you show up for yourself. Celebrate when you demonstrate that for your family. Celebrate when you build a new habit that you've been working on, even if the result isn't there yet, but you've made a shift, you've made a pivot, whether it's a mindset thing or a habit thing or whatever it is, but just enjoy the ride. So I would love to know how this one sits with you. This is a very different type of way of thinking about weight loss, but I think it's a lot more fun. And we're going to talk about how to do all of this on next week's event. So again, if you're watching this while it's coming out, you still have time to register. Up until the 15th, you can register, right? And so go to go.nikkioday.com/3secrets to join me on this free event. You guys, this thing is fire. Get your spot and then invite your friends. We're going to talk about the 3 things that women need to know to lose weight in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Because if you haven't noticed, the approach is quite different now. What age that happens at is different for everybody. For some people, it's 30. For some people, it's 50. But we all hit this age where all of a sudden, all of our old tricks stop working. And if we keep chasing those old tricks and we keep chasing all these crazy diets, it just leads to more misery. That is not what we want. We want to put you on this other path where you feel really good and confident along the way, right? And so I'm going to give you 3 really important topics about that on that event. So I will see you next Tuesday on the event, and I will catch you here on the podcast next Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in. It is my mission to give women back the confidence that they need to show up bigger in their lives. Right now, the world more than ever needs women who are on fire and living their purpose. If you want to join me in this mission, there's a few things you can do. 1, you can share this podcast with the women in your circle. 2, you can join me in my Facebook group, Simplified Fat Loss, or you can subscribe to my newsletter at nikkioday.com.